where we're all about helping you become the best version of yourself. Today, we're diving into one of the most impactful topics in self-development: habits. Believe it or not, habits shape a huge part of our lives, influencing how we think, act, and even what we achieve. Researchers estimate that up to about 70% of our waking behaviors are driven by habits. That's right, most of what we do each day is on autopilot, guided by routines and patterns that we've developed over time. But here's the thing: forming new habits, or breaking old ones, isn't always easy. You may have heard different claims about how long it takes to form a habit: 21 days, 30 days, maybe even 60 days. So, which is it? Well, it turns out there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. A study published in 2010 by a researcher named Lally found that it can take anywhere from 18 days to 254 days for someone to fully develop a new habit, depending on the individual and the habit they're trying to build. In this video, we're going to unpack what the latest science says about habit formation and maintenance. We'll explore how our nervous system works in habit creation, ways to maintain positive habits, and even how to break the ones that aren't serving us. Plus, I'll give you some practical tools and exercises that can help make these changes in your own life. Let's start by talking about two kinds of memory that play a major role in habit formation: episodic memory and procedural memory. In neuroscience, we distinguish between these two types of memory for a reason. Episodic memory is like a snapshot of a specific moment. Think of it as remembering a vacation or an important event. It's a one-time experience stored in your mind. But procedural memory is different. It's all about routines. Procedural memory helps us remember the steps involved in repetitive tasks. Think of it like a recipe, a workout routine, or driving a car. Something that involves a sequence of actions you perform in a certain order. To develop a habit, it's helpful to get into the mindset of procedural memory. When you focus on the steps of a habit, it can help overcome what's called limbic friction, that resistance we feel when trying to start something new. And here's a simple tool to do that: visualization. No need to sit cross-legged with your eyes closed. Just mentally walk yourself through the specific sequence of steps involved in the habit you want to form. Let's use a simple example. Imagine you're trying to build a habit of making yourself a cup of coffee each morning. In your mind, think about each step. You walk into the kitchen, turn on the coffee maker, grind the beans, and pour yourself a fresh cup. Visualizing each step, before you even do it, can actually prime your brain to follow through with that habit. Incredibly, studies show that even a single mental rehearsal can increase the likelihood of doing that habit repeatedly in the future. Now let's move on to an incredibly powerful concept called task bracketing. This technique is supported by research on the basal ganglia, a part of our brain involved in action execution, or the ability to start and stop behaviors. The basal ganglia are like a set of go-no-go circuits in our brain that either push us into action or hold us back. Task bracketing leverages these circuits to help us frame and anchor a habit. Task bracketing focuses on the events that occur right before and right after you execute a habit. By marking these moments in your mind, you set up a neural imprint that makes that habit feel automatic, almost like brushing your teeth. Brushing your teeth is a great example because most of us do it without thinking, regardless of how tired or stressed we are. When you bracket a habit, you're setting boundaries around it that signal to your brain, "This is something I do automatically." And you can create this structure by focusing on what comes just before and just after the habit. For instance, If you want to start running each morning, think about how you're going to get out of bed, put on your running shoes, and head out the door. Imagine how you'll feel once you're done. This mental rehearsal primes your brain to view this habit as part of a routine. Task bracketing also helps anchor habits even when life gets tough. Let's say you didn't get a great night's sleep, or you're dealing with distractions. With task bracketing, the habit becomes deeply ingrained and less dependent on your mood or energy level. This is because your brain sees it as a reflexive action, making it more likely you'll follow through. To make this process even stronger, think about rewarding yourself not just for completing the habit, but also for getting started and ending it. So, let's say your goal is to work out each morning. Mentally prepare by acknowledging how it might feel challenging at first, but also anticipate the satisfaction of completing your workout. This way, you're not just rewarding the workout itself, but also the sequence leading up to and following it. Now, what about breaking a habit? It's easy to think that to break a habit, you need to completely change your environment or overhaul your mindset. While these changes can help, there's another way, one that involves what you do right after engaging in a bad habit. Let's say you're working on a project, but you find yourself habitually checking your phone. Instead of just putting the phone down and diving back into work, which may be hard to sustain, try inserting a replacement behavior immediately afterward. When you catch yourself in a habit you want to break, follow it up with a positive action you're trying to build. This might look like putting your phone down and grabbing a glass of water, stretching, or even doing a few minutes of language practice if that's something you're working on. What's happening here is twofold. First, you're disrupting the chainbox of the bad habit. And second, you're creating a double habit where the initial behavior leads into a new, constructive habit. This approach can eventually weaken the neural circuits responsible for the undesired habit. Let's break this down with a practical example. Suppose your bad habit is picking up your phone whenever you're feeling bored or distracted. Instead of just feeling guilty and setting the phone down, try engaging in a positive replacement behavior immediately after. This could mean grabbing a healthy snack, practicing gratitude, or taking a quick walk outside. Over time, your brain will start associating that moment of boredom or distraction with a positive action rather than mindlessly reaching for your phone. To sum it all up, building or breaking habits is a science rooted in the power of procedural memory, task bracketing, and replacement behaviors. Let's recap some of the main tools. 1. Visualization. Walk yourself through each step of the habit you want to form, mentally rehearsing it as a sequence. 2. Task bracketing. Mark the moments before and after your habit, creating boundaries that make it feel automatic and less dependent on your mood. 3. Replacement behavior. If you're trying to break a habit, follow it up with a positive action. This disrupts the habit cycle and starts rewiring your brain. Remember, each of us is unique, so finding what works for you might take some experimentation.